Hi friends, welcome back. It's Miss Birgit again with another emotion of the week. This week, we are going to be talking about the emotion of feeling determined. Now, feeling determined is definitely a green zone emotion. We oftentimes think about having a goal that we have our eye on, where we're able to work hard and make progress towards something that may even be out in the distance, may take some time and a lot of effort and small steps to see that we'll eventually get there. But being determined, persisting, continuing to try to reach those goals, even when they're challenging, is really, really rewarding. And the book I have to share with you today is an exciting one. It is a nonfiction book about someone that we all know because she's very famous now and she is an important leader, one of the most important leaders in our country, Vice President Kamala Harris. But she wasn't always the vice president. And so this story takes us back to when she was a girl and helps us better understand, how did she get to where she is now? What are the steps that she took? What goals did she have in mind? And how did she work at those goals and remain determined and have her eye on what was important to her all along the way? So I hope you enjoy this book. It's called Kamala Harris, Rooted in Justice. It's written by Nikki Grimes and it's illustrated by Laura Freeman. Enjoy. Eve slammed the door when she got home from first grade. Eve, you know we don't slam doors in this house, her mom said. What's going on? Teacher asked what we wanted to be when we grew up, and I said president. And Calvin said, girls can't be president. Stupid. Well, he's wrong, said Mother. Girls can grow up to be president. In fact, a girl from right here in Oakland hopes to be president one day. Life is a story you write day by day. Kamala's begins with the name. That means lotus flower. See how her beautiful smile opens wide like petals fanning across the water's surface? But you don't see the flower's roots, her roots. They grow deep, deep, deep down. Let me show you. Kamala's family line was a strong black and brown braid, coiling from India, where her mother, Shamala, was born, to Jamaica, where her father, Donald, was born, to Berkeley, California, where her parents fell in love and married, to Oakland, where Kamala was born. It was a good beginning. Is this like once upon a time? Not exactly, said Eve's mom. This story is true. Right away, Kamala was like clay her parents molded for action. When her mother wasn't hunting cures for cancer and her father wasn't teaching, both marched for civil rights and went to lectures by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Kamala was right there too, bouncing along in her stroller, chewing on her pacifier, and words like peace and justice. What's justice? Eve asked her mom. Justice is another word for fairness. Once, when tiny Kamala was fussing, her mother couldn't figure out what was the matter. What do you want, little girl? She asked. Freedom, said Kamala, and a waterfall of laughter sputtered from her mother's mouth. At demonstrations, marchers often chanted, "What do we want? And the answer was always freedom. Little Kamala had been listening. Kamala's baby sister Maya screamed her way into the world when Kamala was 2. In no time, the sisters were having faraway adventures together, like visiting their grandparents in Zambia. Grandfather P.V. Kapalan was a senior diplomat there. He had once fought for India's independence. His wife, Rajam, Kamala's grandmother, fought for the rights of women. Little by little on these visits, Kamala and Maya learned that fighting for justice ran in the family. Sadly, when Kamala was 7, her family squeezed into a different shape. Her parents divorced, and her daddy moved to Palo Alto, while Mommy and the girls packed for the Flatlands, the black working-class area in Berkeley. Having a long-distance daddy can make your heart hurt. But Kamala's new neighbors welcomed her family with smiles and helping hands, warm as sunshine. Still, Kamala was sometimes lonely for her daddy. Luckily, her godmother, Aunt Mary, lived close by and gave Kamala extra hugs whenever she needed them. Like other black and brown kids in the Flatlands, Kamala was part of a California program to integrate the schools. Every day, she rode a yellow school bus, bumping through familiar city streets all the way to the wealthy white part of town with sprawling hillsides painted with gardens. Thousand Oaks Elementary was a world away. Kamala didn't mind. There she got to meet kids who were rich and poor, black and white, kids who celebrated holidays she'd never even heard of. There, teachers taught her to count to 10 in many different languages. "Ooh, I can count to 10 in Spanish," said Eve. "Who taught you that?" asked her mom. "Guadalupe, from next door." Eve smiled proudly. School let out before Mrs. Harris got home, so Kamala and Maya spent the afternoons at the Shelton house 2 doors down, where Mrs. Regina Shelton ran daycare and after-school programs with posters on the wall of Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, and Harriet Tubman. Mrs. Shelton was a second mother to Kamala, always encouraging her to have confidence. Once, Mrs. Shelton bit into a lemon bar Kamala had made all by herself, accidentally using salt instead of sugar. "Ooh, delicious," said Mrs. Shelton. "Maybe a little too much salt, but really delicious," she said, never pointing out Kamala's total failure. That day, Mrs. Shelton let Kamala walk away feeling successful, feeling like she could do anything. After school, Kamala's days bulged with busyness. She had homework, piano lessons, ballet lessons, and Barbie playtime. Thursday nights were the best, though. The family would go to the Rainbow Sign, a cultural center celebrating black art, music, books, and film. James Baldwin spoke there. Maya Angelou read there, and Nina Simone sang there. Nina's gravelly voiced version of "To Be Young, Gifted and Black" often rang through Kamala's home. The more she heard this favorite song, the more Kamala thought, "I'm young, gifted and black too." On Sundays, when they weren't visiting their father, Kamala and Maya rocked from side to side at the 23rd Avenue Church of God, where they tapped tambourines and sang as part of the children's choir. "Fill My Cup, Lord" was Kamala's favorite hymn. The church was where she learned the Bible, that God asks us to speak up for those who can't, to defend the rights of the poor and needy, like some lawyers do. Her Uncle Sherman was that kind of lawyer. Maybe someday Kamala could be one too. I don't want to be a lawyer, said Eve, but I like making sandwiches for the homeless. That's helping too, right? Right, said her mom. In her first year of middle school, Kamala would need a lot of faith. She learned a new lesson about change, a lesson dressed in down jackets and mittens. Her family was moving north, where 12 feet of snow and her mother's new job waited in Montreal. It will be a wonderful adventure, Shamala told her girls, but Kamala grumbled. The thought of leaving her friends in the warmth of sunny California made her shiver. It was February, and Montreal, robed in winter's sparkling white, felt like it had ice in its veins. Kamala couldn't stop shivering. Worse yet, their new neighbors spoke French, a language Kamala's mother insisted her daughters learn. The English name of the French school her mother hand-picked for them was Our Lady of the Snows. That's a funny name, said Eve. Maybe, said her mom. But Kamala wasn't laughing. Montreal was no place for a lotus flower. Sighing, Kamala unpacked her new clothes and her old experiences, like marching for change with her mom. One spring day, when the temperature rose enough for outdoor sports, Kamala and Maya marched in front of their apartment building, waving picket signs because kids weren't allowed to play soccer on the front lawn. It wasn't fair, said Kamala. And Kamala cared a lot about fairness. The building manager read Kamala and Maya's signs and changed the rules. Kamala adjusted to life in Canada, but memories of her home country still rang her heart like a bell. After graduating high school, she ached to return to America, where her parents had nursed her on the civil rights movement. She couldn't wait to follow in the footsteps of her heroes, Constance Baker Motley, Charles Hamilton Houston, and Thurgood Marshall. Marshall had attended Howard University, and Kamala decided she would too. On her first day at Howard, Kamala turned this way and that, smiling at the faces of students from America, Africa, the Caribbean. It was Thursday nights at the Rainbow Sign all over again, where everyone in the room was black, like her. They reminded her of home and the people she wanted to help, the people she wanted to fight for. This university would begin to teach her how. Howard seemed like a perfect place to run her very first campaign. It was for class representative of the Liberal Arts Student Council. Her competition was tough, but so was Kamala. Every day between classes, she passed out flowers in the campus yard and told any students who'd listen why they should vote for her. When the last ballot was counted, Kamala came out the winner. Daddy says I don't have any competition because there's only one me, said Eve. That's right, said her mom. He should tell Kamala there's only one her. Eve's mom just smiled. Kamala's time at Howard was focused on the future. She competed on the debate team to sharpen her speaking skills. She interned at the Federal Trade Commission. She did research at the National Archives to study the workings of government. And on weekends, she joined fellow students on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. to protest apartheid in South Africa. Kamala was preparing to be a woman warrior. Like Wonder Woman? Asked Eve. No, better, said her mom. Wonder Woman isn't real. Nothing matched the magic of her second summer break. When Kamala stepped through the doors of the private Senate subway as an intern for Senator Alan Cranston, Kamala could barely hold in the secret of her joy. What could be better than learning from someone whose footsteps echoed in the halls of power every day? After Howard, California called Kamala home to study at Hastings College of the Law. Court cases and contracts filled Kamala's mind, but changing lives filled her heart. Elected president of the Black Law Students Association, Kamala invited major law firms to a job fair so that more Black graduates had a fair chance to be hired by the best companies in the country. This work was great practice for Kamala's future. Graduating from law school meant there was one more exam to take, the California bar. Without passing it, Kamala could not practice the law. She didn't pass, which taught Kamala something new: failure. It is the toughest teacher, but it can also be the best because it makes you dig down deep and try harder. On the second try, Kamala passed. If at first you don't succeed, said Eve's mom, try again, finished Eve. Kamala was finally ready to climb the mountain of her dreams. First, Deputy District Attorney. Next, the first female District Attorney of San Francisco. Then, the first Black woman Attorney General of California. Peak by peak, she rose, eventually becoming the second Black woman voted into the U.S. Senate. Lawyer, prosecutor, senator, the little girl named Lotus Flower had turned herself into a person others could call on for help. Did she use magic to turn herself into that person? Asked Eve. No, sweetie. Kamala just used hard work. As senator, Kamala fought for laws to help workers earn more money, joined the Women's March on Washington for equality and civil rights, and telephoned lawyers to help immigrant children who came to America looking for someplace safe to live. Each time she answered a call for help, Kamala proved that her family's legacy of public service was alive and well in her. What's a legacy? Asked Eve. It's like the inheritance you leave behind for your children. Kamala had traveled far, but she hadn't finished climbing the mountain of her dreams. On Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, on the TV show Good Morning America, Kamala told the world, "I'm running for President of the United States." She immediately got goosebumps, wondering if Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman to run for president, was smiling down from heaven that very moment. Months into the race, Kamala realized that running for president cost more money than she thought, and Kamala's campaign team didn't have enough. She decided to give up her run for the 2020 presidential nomination. Sad to leave the race, Kamala looked forward to all the good work she could still do as Senator Harris. "That's okay," said Eve. "If at first you don't succeed, try again." "Exactly," said her mom. Will Donald and Shamala's daughter ever get to call the White House home? Only God knows. Kamala Harris is still writing her American story. And that's the end of this book. Now, this book was written before Kamala Harris became Vice President Kamala Harris, the first Black woman, the first woman in the White House. Her determination, her ability to stay laser focused on her goals and work hard paid off. And she's a great example of this emotion and having goals that we set for ourselves and then not letting failure stop us. Just like Kamala, she didn't get discouraged. When she first failed the bar exam, she could have given up. She could have quit. When she had to step down from the presidential race when she was running for president, she could have stepped away from politics altogether, but she didn't. She still remained determined that she had a lot to contribute. She knew. And she continued to work towards those larger goals. And then now look where she is. So I hope you enjoyed this story today. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, take care.